Hello, good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to explain you this evening's class 1, about Romanticism. Last day, I explained you neoclassicism, and Romanticism was an artistic, an intellectual and literary movement that took place in Europe between the 18th and mid-19th century. In literature, Romantic writers and poets wanted to express the strongest emotions. They wanted to express fear and sublime. The word sublime means a mixture of a strong emotion, a mixture of fear and delight at the same time, surprise. Something that can be sublime can be, for example, the twilight is something that can be sublime, like here, like the twilight that we have here. We have especially beautiful twilight here at Complutense campus because it's a mixture of beauty and at the same time it can provoke certain nostalgia, and also it can be a little bit frightening to some extent, because it can provoke certain feeling of certain sadness or melancholy. Sublime in Gothic fiction and in Romantic fiction means feeling scared of something. For example, in Wuthering Heights, Emily Bronte expresses the sublime through the ghosts of Catherine and Heathcliff at the end of the novel. Or for example, in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the monster can provoke a feeling of sublime because it's a mixture of surprise but fear. People feel attracted by the creature. In the novel, in Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein, the doctor, is called Frankenstein, but the monster is called the creature. The monster doesn't have a name. And those who see him feel certain attraction. So sublime is something that is attractive but scary at the same time. In Edmund Burke's Of Sublime, painful situations are more shocking than pleasant ones. Later, in the extract I shared with you, he explains that some situations in everyday life can cause pain but certain pleasure at the same time. Mary Wolstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Woman is a famous essay. It's a famous book written in an essay form. It's non-fiction. It is from 1792. It's a feminist work from England. In her essay, she proposed that women and men had the same rights in education, in politics, at work. She explained that the reason why women were considered silly at that time was that because they didn't receive the same education as men. As you can see, she uses irony in the extract I shared with you. She explains, Gothic's blend of historical fantasy, uncanny phenomena, sexual danger, and extreme situation has never left us. Let me quote this quotation from Michael Gamer, from the chapter Gothic Literature. Gamer, in the chapter Gothic Literature, says, for Mary Wollstonecraft, the word Gothic would have not denoted a kind of literature, let alone a mode or genre. At best, it would have signaled an architectural style and the epoch and people who produced it. literally denoting of the Goths, the word signified medieval. The word Gothic is connected to medieval, is connected to those who were considered barbarians, not classical, not modern. It also carried political connotations, thanks to the widespread belief that the ancient Goths were the same Germanic invaders who had settled in who had settled in England during the late Roman Empire. Synonyms with nativist associations of pre-Norman England could be associated with various Saxon traits of inclusiveness, fairness, vigor, etc. So, students of popular culture realized that Gothic is connected to fantasy, phenomena, sexual danger, and extreme situations. So, in Gothic literature, which is also romantic, because Romanticism and Gothicism, okay, romantic and Gothic are synonyms in literature. And both are related to sexuality in danger and also fear, okay, passion and surprise. Now I'm going to explain Romanticism. The romantic authors we are going to see. Romantic poets. William Blake, the first one, and then the first generation poets, Blake, Wordsworth, and Coleridge, and the second generation poets, Shelley, Byron, and Keats. William Blake. I'm going to explain you William Blake. He was born in London, and he also died in London. He was very famous for being an engraver, an artist, an illustrator. He received an artistic education. He has been admired by his paintings and his poetry too. You can find online the illustrations of Songs of Innocence and Experience. He illustrated his poems. He first wrote Songs of Experience, and after that, he wrote Songs of Innocence to show a contrast. He was really interested in showing oppositions, because for him, there were always oppositions. There were always contraries. He saw everything from a binary perspective. For example, in religion, he said that in religion, there was always a binary, an opposition. Even in God, he said that God had both sides. If you think about it, this is a notion that comes from neoclassicism, because in neoclassicism, artists and writers started to hesitate about God, about religion. Many of them were atheists. They believed in logic and rationality, but they didn't believe in religion or spiritualism. And Blake was interested in spiritualism, but his views were considered heretical because sometimes he asked if God existed or not. He put it into question, as we can see, for example, in the poem of the Tiger by William Blake. The poem. I will recite for you the first lines of the poem. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? At the beginning of the poem, he's asking who has created the tiger, asking if God exists or not. We also find this question in the poem of the Lamb. In the poem of the Lamb by William Blake, he also asks, who has created you? So the poems have been interpreted in the following way. The tiger represents fear, danger. And the lamp represents purity. The lamp is supposed to be God, because in the Bible, the lamp, God, was represented as a lamb. Now I'm going to talk about infant joy and infant sorrow, the poems by William Blake. In Infant Joy, he explains how a baby is born. The baby is born and he's looking for his mother's breast to feed him. At the beginning, he's afraid of life. He's shocked when he comes to the world. And then he realizes that he shouldn't feel that angry or scared. He finds refuge and protection in his mother's breast. And then the poem Infant Sorrow is about the child who feels sad, who experiences pain. Let me quote Marion Leaper's reflection on William Blake's Infant Sorrow. I will read part of the poem. My mother groaned. My father wept into the dangerous world. I leaped, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fin hid in a cloud. These words mirrored how I saw in myself. This is what she says, this author. And there is a free soul leaping into the world. So in Infant Sorrow, a baby is being born, is in the world, startling my way to freedom and adulthood. In the second verse, we can see the young mother. She's discovering how powerful a baby is. It's being that can be too much for two grown adults in the sleep-deprived stretches of the night. Blake looks so intensely into the moment. He captures exactly the way a baby lifts up its head to look out of the world, but then, finding the effort too much, falls back and nuzzles the mother's shoulder. And in Infant Joy, misery and experience are easy to put into words in the previous poem, but innocence is much harder. Infant joy can seem banal or sentimental. I will read. I have no name. I am but 2 days old. What shall I call thee? This is a conversation between the mother and the baby. The poet asks questions of the child. What shall I call thee? Listen the answer. I happy am. Joy is my name. Sweet joy befall thee. So the baby says that his name should be Joy, because he's the joy that he's going to bring to his parents. These poems are wonderful, beautiful. And the more you read them, the better you understand them. When I read these poems, when I was studying at university, at Complutense University, and I received classes from Margarita Ardanaz and also from Damaso Lopez, William Blake fascinated me when I read his poem, Songs of Innocence and Experience, on the grass under a tree at Retiro Park. And I really enjoyed myself reading the poems. I preferred Infant Joy than Infant Sorrow at that time. I really enjoyed the poems. And when I read The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by William Blake, that was like a mystery because of the criticism of religion that was great and fascinating for me at that moment. And now that I'm a mother and I've got a baby, I have really understood the meaning of infant joy and infant sorrow, because I realized that both poems are about the first feelings of a baby when it comes to the world. And it is beautifully explained with wonderful and perfect verses. The images that you can find are really interesting also. I will share you a document with the images too. I am going to finish here. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I would have really enjoyed your interpretations of the poems. And next class, I want to hear your comments or interpretations. This is all for this evening. Thank you very much. I will upload you more documents for you to study and read. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.